How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about really weird things found inside storage units. From James Bond's car to an actual human leg found inside a barbecue smoker. Join us as we take a look at the 10 strangest things found inside shipping containers. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more awesome content just like this.
In The Spy Who Loved Me, James Bond and his Bond girl du jour escape from his nemesis in an amphibious Lotus Esprit. Although the movie itself was fictional, the car was not, and it was later discovered by an average, everyday contractor in Long Island. The contractor bought the shipping crate for just $100 in 1989. When he and his brother opened it, they discovered a sports car inside with a dented roof and missing tyres. At first, the brothers had no idea what they were looking at. After doing some digging, the Ian Fleming Foundation declared that the car was the car used in the Bond film. They authenticated it, and the brothers later sold the car at an auction for almost $1 million. The buyer? None other than eccentric billionaire Elon Musk. Unfortunately, however, the car is currently in its underwater mode and can't be driven, but it's still surely one of the strangest things ever found in shipping containers. This item may seem connected to the fictional James Bond story just mentioned, however it has been proven to be real. While most people think that lipsticks that shoot poison or knives or even tear gas only exist in movies and books, this tear gas lipstick however is completely legitimate and completely operational. In December 2013, a shipping crate was intercepted in Sydney, Australia carrying hundreds of weapons that ranged from tear gas lipstick tubes to tasers disguised as cell phones and even fake pistols that worked as real ones. A 49-year-old woman was arrested in connection with the major import of illegal weapons and had been planning to sell the weapons to everyday people at outdoor markets in the city. In 2011, a burglar named Ronald Dennis had the bright idea that shipping containers would make a great place to hide the things he had stolen. At night, he snuck around the storage unit facility seeking out the perfect container to hide his loot in. He waited until Saturday night when no one else was around, then he cut open the lock to the container and went inside. Not long after he put his plan into motion though, a security guard began to check the perimeter. When the guard came across the open storage unit, he tried to open it all the way, thinking that the owners were just trying to air it out. When the door wouldn't budge, he decided to close it instead, trapping Ronald Dennis inside. He was found the next morning when a different guard heard strange sounds coming from inside the container and called the police. His plan was thwarted and he was arrested. Maybe next time he'll think twice about where he puts his loot. In 1994, a man named John Wilson brought a shipping container to use as a bridge on his property for $400. Since he had no need to store anything inside it, the shipping container sat unopened for 10 years, until one day Wilson decided to take his first look inside. He was surprised to discover that inside was a jet engine for the Canadian HMCS Athabascan, worth over $2 million when it was originally produced. The engine came complete with everything necessary to authenticate and sell it, and Wilson decided to look into it. Unfortunately, however, over time, the value of the engine depreciated to just $30,000. In Italy some years ago, custom workers were doing a routine random inspection of shipping containers. When they scanned one particular container for radiation, they found that it was emitting the highest level of radiation possible. Alarmed by the idea that something potentially very harmful could be inside, like a nuclear weapon or a bomb, they organised a team and opened the container, only to find a small piece of copper inside. The copper seemed harmless enough, and there was nothing else inside to justify the high levels of radiation they had picked up. The team did some more investigating using several different tests to find out why radiation levels were so high when there was nothing inside the container at all. After several days though, they found absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. To this day, no one knows what was causing the radiation. But not just any comic book, the very first Superman comic book ever written. When an unnamed man discovered this comic book in a storage unit he bought in 2011, he, unlike other people in this list, knew exactly what he was holding in his hands. This was one of the most valuable things ever found inside a shipping container, and he was quick to try to cash in on his find. Unfortunately, he discovered that the prize was not legally his to sell. When he checked with an expert to find out the full value of the comic, the expert just so happened to be the man who had sold the comic in the first place to famous actor Nicolas Cage in 1995. Cage had paid $1 million for it in 95, only to have it stolen from him in 2000. The comic book was returned to its rightful owner, and Cage was beyond happy to have his beloved Superman issue back in his hands. For several years, a shipping container full of dinosaurs has been making its way around the world. These are not prehistoric dinosaurs though, but 14 life-size man-made dinosaurs part of the Dinosaurs Return exhibition. The lifelike models are broken down and reassembled at each stop of the shipping container. The containers are shipped by train or boat and go around the world spreading joy to children and teaching them about dinosaurs. The exhibit is one of the largest of its kind and has been set up in places that range from theme parks and science centres in the United States to zoos in the United Kingdom. In the 1990s, George Ganai of Seattle, Washington was just another guy buying a storage unit from an auction. When he opened it up, however, he found a human skull sticking out from under a pile of garbage bags, and evidence of a gruesome triple murder. Ganai called the police, who found the body of a woman named Barbara Bender and her 2 children, who had been missing since 1980. They had last been seen loading up a moving truck to leave her husband, whom she was divorcing. The police immediately went after her husband, who confessed to having killed his wife and children and putting them in the storage container. His new wife had been responsible for paying for the storage unit and had stopped making payments that year, 12 years after the crime. This is what led the unit to be auctioned off and Ganai to make his awful discovery. Unfortunately, this is not the only time human remains had been found in a shipping container. As the police from the Bender case were quick to point out, storage units are often used as a place to hide evidence, as they're normally very private and hard to get into. On a more cheerful note, another shipping container carrying radial tyres was discovered in the depths of Monterey Bay in 2011. This container and several others had fallen off a ship in 2004 and was investigated by a submersible camera sent by the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute. Inside, the MBARI researchers found an entire functioning ecosystem with fish, coral, algae and other forms of life living inside. The discovery of this little reef made them begin a new project in which they investigate the effects shipping containers have on underwater life and ecosystems. Their discoveries led to the owners of the boat that lost the shipping containers in the first place paying for their crime, with the proceeds going to fund this continuing project. Before we get to the #1 spot and find out what the weirdest thing ever found in a shipping container has been, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be completely up to date and see our latest videos in your subscription feed. When Shannon Wisnort bought a storage unit at an auction in 2007, sight unseen, he was delighted to find that there was a meat smoker inside. He loved to smoke meat and couldn't wait to try it out by having a barbecue in his backyard. After gathering up his meats to cook, he opened up the lid of the smoker for the first time and found a human leg lying on the grill. Alarmed by this gruesome discovery, Wisnort called the police, who began to track down the owner of the leg. While they believed the owner of the leg had most likely been killed in a homicide or other crime, they soon discovered that the owner of the leg was alive and well, and in actual fact was the man who had sold Wisnort the storage unit in the first place. He had lost his leg in a plane accident 3 years before and had taken it home from the hospital with him so he could have it in his casket with him when he died. Not knowing where else to keep it, he had stored it in the storage unit. After a few years though, the man had decided to sell the unit to make some money. He had completely forgotten that his leg was inside. Oddly, this isn't the weirdest part of the story. When Wisnort found out who the leg belonged to, he didn't want to give it back to him. Instead, he wanted to keep it because he had been charging people to come to his yard to take a look at the leg in his smoker. The two actually had to go to court over it, and eventually the original owner was given back his leg. Hello Ham Fam! Huge announcement, we've got a brand new merch store. It's got all the good stuff, tees, hoodies, mugs, phone covers, and the most exciting part, slapped ham stickers. Do you need more pew in your life? We've got a sticker for that. Does your ham need branding? We've got a sticker for that too. Slap these bad boys on all your stuff and represent the Bacon Squad. To celebrate the launch of our brand new store on Redbubble, we've got a huge 20% off store-wide. This sale is only for the first 5 days after this video goes live, so be quick and join the Ham Fam now. Links are in the description box below.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you're not getting our latest videos in your subscription feed, remember to check that bell icon next to the subscription box, opt in for channel notifications. That way you'll get all our freshest content. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.